probably seen, no exaggeration, 50 articles without even looking where they say, everything you're doing is being tracked, everything you're doing is being traced, we're listening to you, we're going to grab the data off your phones without warrants, we're going to face scan you everywhere you go, we're going to arrest you if the camera says you're suspicious, and the AI computer. We are launching AI self-aware autonomous drones in America. We are going to inspect your farm, your ranch, your home. We are setting up environmental police. We are going to raise your taxes. We are going to come after your families. We are going to set up a world government. We are going to bankrupt you. We are going to do, I mean, it is just a complete, absolute new world order offensive. And this is only the offensive before the real offensive. And I woke up at about 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I woke up all last night. And the immediacy, the imminence of our threat, the immediacy of the crises, of massive war with Iran, massive war in Syria, Iran, China involved, the immediacy of false flag terror attacks staged in this country as the pretext to go after the American people. I mean, I'll tell you, at about 4 in the morning, I finally decided before I went back to sleep that I needed to come on air today and openly ask the American people to pray to God to deliver us from this and to repent and to ask for a reprieve, because all of the craziness and all of the corruption and all of the problems that we've seen so far are nothing compared to what we're about to enter. And I told you a year ago that when they start hyping Iranian domestic terror attacks in America, you can expect that the stage terror is about to come and that the big war is about to come. And sure enough, just like clockwork, they're saying Iran's going to attack U.S. bases, federal buildings. They're dispatching TSA with machine guns, federal security forces with machine guns, of course, harassing citizens when they go into the Social Security offices, you name it. And really, this is a cover for the martial law rollout. The globalists are full spectrum. They're not just going to attack Iran. They're going to attack us here themselves and then pose as the saviors. I'll explain it when we get back. We'll be right back. So I want to break down the immediacy of what we face. It's very simple. A powerful corporate special interest have taken control of our government and many other governments of the world, and they're openly getting rid of sovereignty, getting rid of any checks and balances that block them from engaging in any crimes they wish. And then they make it illegal to resist them, even politically. And that's what the New World Order is, if you had to really boil it down. It's a global corporate fascist bureaucratic dictatorship. And now it's out in the open. In fact, after the break, I've got some newscasts that the teams put together that I want to air here on the radio show from the Nightly News. One of them is the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, and then that ties in with the Darren McBreen piece on false flag. That's coming up. But I want to discuss the immediacy of this, because, you see, to these globalists who always finance both sides or all sides of a crisis and then offer the solution, and then things get worse and they offer the solution to that, because they want to consolidate power. You have to understand that when they attack Iran, that's because the war that lets you shut up your opposition. That lets you get the no-bid contracts. That lets you set up a domestic system. And when you discover that the plan we're currently under is at least from 1982, and Wesley Clark, talked about more than a decade ago, on C-SPAN, we've heard it several times, that he was at the Pentagon, former, head general of NATO, and that they said, yeah, here's the 8 countries we're made, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start with Afghanistan, then Iraq, then we're going to move to Libya, then we're going to move to Syria, then we're going to move to Iran. And it's not just Wesley Clark saying he was at the Pentagon and they said this. This is the plan. And then you realize they're not trying to go in and kick out dictators and actually, you know, build industries and hotels so we can all fly there and visit the incredible, you know, resorts that could be set up there on the Mediterranean or the Red Sea or whatever. They're not doing that. No. In Iraq, in Libya, now in Egypt, and when they're done with Syria, they're kicking the old dictators out, many of which work for the globalists, and they are putting Al-Qaeda in. They are putting the Muslim Brotherhood in that's like Al-Qaeda light. And then they admit it all over the news. Just the last few days, I've seen 4 or 5 mainstream articles admitting, yeah, Israel and the U.S. are using Al-Qaeda terror groups to attack. And they go, yeah, you know, this is no big deal. And yeah, the West is funding groups attacking from 3 sides in Syria. And yeah, 40,000 have been killed since the liberation in Libya, and Al-Qaeda is in charge, and they're killing the black Africans that are there, and they're killing and torturing government people, and they're torturing the ambassador to France. And people are like, well, why did you do this? Why did you invade? Because they want to screw the country up. The globalists want to screw us up with Agenda 21. I mean, Ted Turner, all of them say, post-industrial world. They want to wreck things. Because when they wreck what your society and your system and your taxes have built, they get to come in later when you're begging for anything and you've accepted your lower standard of living. They just kind of let a country cook under collapse for a few years, like Argentina or others. And then they just come in later, pose as the saviors, and people accept the new tyranny because at least the tyrants will turn the lights back on. And in 2002, I've been screaming bloody murder ever since then because I warned everybody then. I said, look, they're going to do what they did in Latin America and Africa and Asia here because they plan it. Here's the documents. And I've been just sitting here screaming bloody murder, trying to warn people as best I can. And now we move into the even more out of control phase where the globalists get to attack the Middle East and Central Asia and Pakistan and Iran, and they've got all the aircraft carriers openly saying they're preparing for war with China. And Russia has vetoed the Security Council move to send in troops into Syria that, remember, 6 months ago Hillary promised they wouldn't do. And she promised that it would only last weeks, well, days, not weeks, and so did Obama in Libya. And then they call it humanitarian to have CIA agent Anderson Astor Cooper up there on TV saying it's humanitarian. Oh my gosh, Assad is killing protesters when Assad is fighting back against Al-Qaeda forces that our criminal government runs. And it's hiding in plain view is what's frustrating. But we've got some good news on that front. We're going to break that down coming up.
We're on the march.
Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, we are here live. And, of course, I come back Sundays 4 to 6 p.m. Central. And don't forget, every weeknight, 7 o'clock, Infowars Nightly News. A great team we're assembling there. So even when I go out of town or on the road, quite frankly, the Nightly News is better in some cases. I love the variety. And I finally twisted Darren McBreen's arm into hosting the Nightly News last week. He did an exceptional job. It's an exceptional job. And when I get around to it, we are going to run a contest in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to start running it for video submissions across the country, where the winner will win a cash prize and will then be interviewed, because we're going to interview a bunch of the people that give us submissions. You'll win a cash prize. I think it'll be like $5,000 for the best newscast news piece. And then you'll be interviewed to be a reporter at Infowars. And I think I'm going to do 2 contests. It's time we get a female reporter. So it's going to be a female reporter, and we're also going to hire a male reporter. I haven't decided all the details yet. I meant to launch it a month ago, but I've been so busy. But we're going to hire a couple new reporters / anchors and a lot more here at Infowars.com. And we're able to do all this because viewers and listeners have supported our sponsors and supported our online video bookstore. You've bought the T-shirts. You've bought the bumper stickers. You've supported the sponsors. Because of that, we're able to continue and expand in the face of this depression that the country and the world has been artificially put into. All right, let me, before I get into all these audio video clips here, let me just basically talk to you. And I say this a lot because every time I look at the immediacy, the imminence of this, the 2 minutes to midnight nature of it, I don't feel worthy to even be covering this. And by that, it's kind of like that feeling where something takes your breath away, and you know how real it is, and you know how right you've been, and you just wish it was happening. The globalists have had at least a 20-year plan, and we're now 20 years in. Launched the plan that I saw for 1982, a Pentagon plan working with the Israelis, 1982, of how they the entire Middle East using overthrowing the governments and then bombarding and attacking those governments, backing up the proxies, playing the Shiites and Sunnis off against each other. And the order of the invasions, which they're following like clockwork. And again, this is not the Israeli government. This is not the U.S. government. These are not our governments. These are nations that have been captured by the globalists, England as well, that are being used to expand this global empire. And when Iran is attacked, Iran and this whole crisis that's going to come out of it, and the asymmetrical warfare that we're going to experience, whether it's real or staged, the, quote, terrorist attacks are going to be used. Now, let me just briefly explain something here. Because every time I mention this, I see emails or comments saying that can't be true because it's so incredible. This was in Newsweek. This was in Time Magazine. You could just type in, Bush signed order to attack Afghanistan day before 9/11. He signed the order to launch the attacks 1 week from that point, the day before 9/11. In the 6 months before 9/11, 18,000 British troops and 44,000 U.S. troops massed in the stands, Uzbekistan and other countries around it. In 6 months, the weapons, the artillery, the helicopter parts, the troops, all of it, the aircraft carriers arrived 2 weeks before. Everything lined up, and then 9/11 happened as the reason to attack. You see, it's the PR, it's the hype, it's the buildup that lets you know it's staged. And just like clockwork, I told you, they're going to start saying that Iranian terrorists are going to attack federal buildings in the United States. Now you're being told they're going to attack any minute. They're busting fake patsies. They're saying brace for all of this. They're saying domestic groups are working with them. We're going to have highway checkpoints, they're now saying. Everything for a decade they've been gearing up for. And people are like, but we hadn't had any big terror attacks. Why are you doing urban warfare drills with the military in every major U.S. city? Why are you setting up highway checkpoints all over the country with the military and TSA? Why is the TSA popping up in Houston and Dallas, just where I live in Texas? Why are MPs from the Air Force, Army on the streets of San Antonio searching people? I mean, this is on the news now. Troops come up to you with sidearms. I mean, I remember 4 years ago,